Testing 1, 2, 3. Daniel, they must have took it down, Kimberly. You guys, make sure you all sub to the backup channels. When Kay gets back in, all the new people, make sure you're sub to the backup channel. They must have took me down, the video down. I don't understand why. Damn. Daniel, are you sub to my backup channel? We have to try to get everybody in the backup. So we'll go ahead and play Billy Bean over again. Oh, wait, yeah. I got the XT report also.
I'm in Texas about 10 a.m. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Tragically, we have some
channel,
unsettling
please?
news to bring this morning in this flash.
Orange one.
One regarding a terrorist attack in
Tell everybody to
Washington,
make sure there's none
D.C.,
there.
where it's
Right.
believed we had several of our brave National Guards from West Virginia who, it's reported from a source, a good source, have tragically passed away. We also have flash update news about a list of targets that Venezuela, Russia, China, and Iran want to hit inside the U.S. once things go hot in the Caribbean, inside the states of Louisiana and Texas. So I'll begin with the shooting information this morning that happened in Washington, D.C. It's believed a terrorist led in by unvetted by the Commie Dem JB regime, who had worked with the CIA and the U.S. military inside Afghanistan before we saw the.
Yeah, I just posted on the main post of the big channel. I said, please sub to the two backup channels I have, so everybody from this channel can get over to the backup channels. Because we have 1,900 on my main channel, and there's only 200 on the backup ones. Kay will drop the links. Yeah, thanks, Kay.
Commie Dem JB regime make a sudden move out of Afghanistan, leaving millions of Americans and Afghanistani people in the lurch. So this morning in D.C., Washington, D.C., about 1 mile from the White House, we had an Afghani national open fire on, it's being reported from a source, 3 National Guard, and that tragically 2 out of 3 of the National Guard troops shot in cold blood by this terrorist from Afghanistan have passed away. So today, about 8:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we had 3 National Guard troops shot by a terrorist from Afghanistan who's been identified by Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, who publicly made a statement on CBS that this Afghani national has been tied to a terrorist group inside Afghanistan. One would have to wonder if there are other terrorist Afghani in the U.S., possibly a cell that's being activated. And we have a lockdown going on for many buildings inside Washington, D.C. this morning, including the Treasury Building, Eisenhower Building, plus. So the shooting took place about a mile from the U.S. According to Hal Turner's intel, tragically, 2 out of 3 of the National Guard troops who were fired upon by this terrorist from Afghanistan have passed away, and that a public statement has been made by West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. The National Guard troops were from West Virginia.
Whatever road you choose to travel, Chevy Silverado will take you there. Lease a 2026 Silverado Crew Cab LT for just $189 a month. Chevy Detroit. Together, let's drive.
Fannie Mae Pixies. When premium ingredients like smooth caramel
and the Afghan national was born in 1996. He shot in cold blood, came around the corner of a building and shot in cold blood a female National Guard troop, went over to her, took her gun, and then shot her point blank in the head. He then shot another male National Guardsman multiple times. We do not have the names of the National Guard troops who have been shot. There was in the area of the shooting an unarmed National Guard major who then began to attack with a knife the Afghani terrorist and stabbed him, the terrorist. The major stabbed the terrorist multiple times in his head. And another National Guard troop in the area who was armed then shot him in the leg and back. And the major said he heard the Afghan terrorist when he began the shooting attack on the National Guard shout, "Allahu Akbar." The Afghan terrorist lives in the state of lives in Washington State. They have tracked his home. And the Afghan terrorist served beside U.S. military in special forces in Afghanistan. His name is Ramad La, last name Lakawal. He was serving beside the U.S. military and the CIA, we're finding out, near Kandahar. He came to the U.S. under the Commie-Dem regime of JB in 2021. And according to Judge Jean Pirot, he came in unvetted by the U.S. government. Breitbart reports Lakawal worked in Afghanistan with the CIA. This has been reported in a public statement by the CIA Director John Ratcliffe. So that's going on. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to all the families of the National Guard from multiple states now serving in Washington, D.C., and especially to the families who have lost loved ones this morning in a terrorist attack in Washington, D.C. And now we have this. We know that the U.S. has been prepping to begin efforts near Venezuela. And it's possible that this terrorist attack could be associated with Venezuela. And we have sources that tell us, MonkeyWorks reports inside Venezuela in the past few days, 150 Russian advisors are on the ground, along with Chinese troops and Iranian special forces. And that according to the intel received by Hal Turner, there's a list of targets that this group of nations, Venezuela, Russia, China, and Iran, plan to hit inside the U.S. So we have in Louisiana and in Texas, 2 locations in Louisiana and 2 in Texas, where we have our strategic petroleum supply located. I have a family member who works in the drilling business who stated, yes, the business in Texas had drilled wells in this area. So we have in Louisiana, we have Bayou, Choctaw, and that's near Baton Rouge. And we have West Hackberry, that's near Lake Charles in Texas. We have Bryan Mound, that's near Freeport, Texas. That's the area in which I live. And we also have Big Hill. That's the petroleum strategic location, Big Hill. That's near Bryan, Texas. So we see the combination of Venezuela, Russia, China, Iran plan to target inside the U.S. strategic petroleum supply, 2 locations in Louisiana and 2 locations in Texas. So that's going on. What else is going on in Venezuela and the U.S. in the last few days? We've seen that, according to Hal Turner, for the past 5 nights, could be 6 or 7 nights now, the Venezuelan government and military go to underground bunkers underneath Venezuelan military locations. And the U.S. intel is that Venezuela will target inside the continental U.S., the U.S. strategic petroleum locations, 2 in Louisiana and 2 in Texas. And we have this, 30% of the U.S. naval forces are now in the Caribbean, loaded with Tomahawks. We have tens of thousands of U.S. Marines now stationed in Puerto Rico. Insurance companies have now canceled, insurance for aircraft who tried to violate. So the U.S. has also put a no-TAM, a no-fly area over the Caribbean and Venezuela. In response, the insurance companies will not insure aircraft flying anywhere over or near the no-TAM set by the U.S. government and military, and will cancel all flights to and from Venezuela. That happened in the last 24 hours. And we have reports now from a second source, 150 Russian advisors are on the ground in Venezuela to direct drone attacks on America. And we have this.
For me, photography has never only been about work. It is about memory, about presence, about the proof.
So a few nights, I believe that was Monday night, the U.S. troops in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, and other Trinidad, Tobago, were fed lobster and steak, a U.S. military tradition before they take the troops to kinetic action. And they were advised Monday also that all leave for Thanksgiving and Christmas has been canceled for Southcom U.S. military, the military that would be serving in this area in the Caribbean. The U.S. has put up several no-TAM, no-fly areas over the Caribbean, including one from 18,000 to 24,000 feet, which is where refuelers refuel fighter jets. And the U.S. has also declared within the past 48 hours the Venezuela cartel led by Maduro, Cartel de los Santa Solas, to be a terrorist organization. So now let's have a short prayer. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus and many call Yeshua.
Sorry.
And we ask that your love and your comfort be bountifully supplied to the family members of these brave National Guard troops who have lost their lives this morning in Washington, D.C., through no fault of their own, by an attack by someone who wants to destroy America. We come to you also with grateful hearts, and we give thanks for the many blessings we have had on our nation and in our families. And we say thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, it's been 9 days since we heard her. So once again, I posted on the main post to make sure you sub to the backup channel. Like I said, we got 1,900 here and only 200 on the backup channel. So please make sure you're sub to the backup channel. Thank you. So you guys can find me. Okay, we got the X2 report, and I'm gonna do 2 hours. So we got messed up on the first stream, so I'm gonna get 2 hours in even. Yeah, just refresh. Yep, thanks, Lori.
Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3783 AM. Today's date is November 26, 2025, and the title of the episode is Trump is helping the central bank bankrupt itself. That is what the people are witnessing. Hey, you know what's interesting? While everyone was watching the headlines, the Trump administration just quietly released a document that could reshape the mining sector. This is real, and it's happening right now under Executive Order 14241. This isn't just about mining, it's a national security imperative. In an official report to the White House, the administration just named the Palmer Project in Alaska as a key asset of America's mineral independence. Vizsla Copper has acquired that project. We're talking an estimated $3.5 billion in ground value containing the very copper, zinc, and silver vital for our military and energy grid. This is a government-backed move to fast-track domestic production and puts Vizsla trading in the U.S. under ticker VCUFF at the center of the action. And that's just the beginning for Vizsla Copper. They're led by the same team that propelled Vizsla Silver to $1 billion valuation. With the Palmer acquisition announced less than 48 hours ago, this could mark the start of something monumental. They have the team, the assets, and now the explicit backing of a U.S. administration prioritizing national security. We've seen this happen recently when other Alaska miners like Triology Metals and Nova Minerals got government backing. Their shares shot up over 200%. The Palmer project was just named in the government report, and the market hasn't priced it in yet. Vizsla Copper trades in the U.S. under the ticker VCUFF and in Canada as VCUV. They're definitely worth a closer look. Huge thanks to Vizsla Copper for making today's video possible. Check the link in the description below for more information. Just go to vizslacopper.com or click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, Trump has known their playbook from the very, very beginning. And he knows that what they were trying to do was to down their old system to bring us into the new system, because I think we all have known this because they mentioned it back in March of 2020. They mentioned how they were going to bring us into the Great Reset, and this is their Great Reset. And what Trump is doing, he's actually resetting their economic system and using it against them. Why? Because he's creating a parallel economic system, and this new system is competing against the central bank system. So if you have an old system that the central bankers were going to destroy no matter what, because they're trying to bring us into their new system, and their new system was supposed to be the central bank digital currency and complete and utter control. So if they were going to do it anyhow, why not move forward with the plan? Because
Hey, Lisa. Yep, I started at 7. I got back from my sisters. Everything was good. I hope everyone else too. They took my video down. I had to restream, and I told Kay and see if you can make sure everybody subs over to the backup channel. I have want to make sure everybody carries over from here over to there, because there's only 200 on the backup channel. Thanks. I'll go 2 hours here.
if you're building a parallel economic system made up of tariffs, the gold card, energy sales, technology sales, and you're bringing income into this country,
Yep.
and you know
I'll
the
try to
central
find
bank
a
is
clip
going to
to
destroy
that.
their old
I
system,
saw one.
why not
Thanks.
max out the credit card? Because really, that's what it really is. Max it out and bring it to its knees, because once it's at its, once it's on its knees, you have the leverage, you have the control, because you have a competing system. And the system that you brought to its knees can't compete anymore. And it makes it that much easier. And I do believe that's what we're witnessing right now. And everything the central bankers have told us from the very beginning has always been a gigantic lie, when it has to do with inflation, when it has to do with debt, when it has to do with employment, when it has to do with everything. They've created an illusion that has been tricking the people for a very long time. Remember, there was talk about having universal basic income where people were just going to get money. Well, if you look at
Kay
the
dropped
United
it,
States right now, and you
but
look
I want
at
to make sure
the welfare
everybody
system, that's basically
sees
what it is. I mean, yes, every other country has this, but that's basically what it is. It's universal basic income, if you really think about it, because they're receiving money every single month, and most of these people depend on it. And think about why they wanted to bring us into the universal basic income world. Because again, with the welfare program, SNAP, and everything else, they started out using that, and they were going to morph it into universal basic income. Because when you really look at this, and we've mentioned this study before, but Peter Sangong put this out, the UBI study that was done out in the UK, it turns out if you give cash to the poor, people just basically quit their job. They don't want to work. They don't get healthy or start a business. They don't get their life together. They actually become worse parents. Like most welfare, UBI is about bribing the poor to stay poor. So think about it. The central bankers, they mentioned universal basic income, and actually they wanted to do this during COVID. This is what the stimulus was all about. And they knew if they were able to hook everyone on this, almost like a drug, if you hooked everyone on this, no one would be productive. And basically, you would have complete and utter control over the people. And this is what they were trying to do from the very beginning. But you could see everything now is being reversed. And Trump now is in the process of destroying the central bank system. Because think about it. With the central bank system, every dollar that you make, and Zero Hedge put this out, 24 cents of that dollar goes to pay the interest on the debt, which means you're only making 76 cents on that dollar. Because again, you have to pay for the ability to use the borrowed money. That's what that is really about. And this is why we can't produce the penny, because the value of the currency continually declines over time. So you're paying the interest on the debt, which means you only have 76 cents left. And we know that the dollar has lost 98% of its value, which means there's not enough money to even create a penny, which we know that's why they're stopping the production of pennies. Ultra Pepulized Matter put this out and said, the American penny is history. The nickel could be next. Why? Because a nickel is 75% copper, 25% nickel. It costs nearly 14 cents to mint, yet it's still only worth 5 cents. So think about it. It now costs 14 cents to make a nickel, which is worth 5 cents. So basically what you're seeing right now is that the value of the currency has declined so much that we can't even make a nickel. I mean, it's really not that far behind the penny. Actually, we already surpassed it, actually, if you really think about it. And think about it. Copper is worth more. Nickel is worth more. I'm talking about the metals. And you could see this very, very clearly. So you're paying for the interest. The value of the currency is declining. And we can't even make the currency with the currency that we have because the currency is worth nothing. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable when you really step back and take a look at this. It means the system is failing. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they knew exactly what the central bank was planning to do. And they knew eventually what was going to happen is we needed to move out of the central bank system. Now, think about it. Before Trump came in for his third term, which I do believe it is his third term because the second term, the deep state players, Biden, Obama, and the rest, they cheated in the election. They overthrew the United States government. And Trump needed to wake the people up. But in his third term,
in too many cities, dangerous illegals walk free as police are forced to stand down. Join ICE and help us.
What has Trump done right now? He's created a parallel economic system. Now, he's done this on purpose because, again, when we go back to March of 2020, when the central bank, the World Economic Forum, Prince Charles at the time, now he's King Charles, they all mentioned the Great Reset. Their plan was always to destroy their old system. Let's talk about our health. In recent clinical trial this year, women who took 2.5 grams of collagen peptides daily for 8 weeks saw an average of 25% reduction in eye wrinkle depth, 9% improvement in skin elasticity, and 29% book in skin hydration. Proven collagen can visibly strengthen and rejuvenate skin from within. This is why I use.
We already played this one, you guys. I can't remember if we played that one. Yeah, she did. Yeah, but we didn't. So we did play. Jacqueline, you haven't? Okay, we're almost done.
Today's sponsor, BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen. And I'm obsessed with the results it's given my skin. BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen helps supercharge my skin health using 5 premium types of collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. I've noticed smoother skin, more elasticity, more hydration, fewer fine lines, and a youthful glow. Plus, it also helps improve my joint health, bone strength, and connective tissues on top of my skin health. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, you also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with your order. Once again, go to healthwithx22.com to get this deal now, or just click the link in the description. So if they destroyed their old system without a competing system, we'd be screwed. There'd be no other system, and we'd have to go into their system that they're creating with the central bank digital currency. Now, Trump knows, because he knows the playbook, that they were going to down their system no matter what, if he was in power or if he wasn't in power, because that was their plan. So he couldn't allow them to down their system without a competing system, where the competing system is bringing in income into this country. And remember, the tariff system doesn't really work with the central bank system, because the central bank system, the country, the people of this country, borrow the currency with interest attached. The tariff system, we have income coming in, but we're using the central bank income currency. That money's coming in. We're not borrowing it, but it's still the central bank currency. You see, our full buying power is not back yet. But Trump, he needed to start something to compete with the central bank system and then bring the central bank system to its knees. Now, Joe Lange put out a very good post, and he's pointing to a Zero Hedge article, and it says the following. Here is a good article full of good information, but it completely misses what Doge was all about. It also misses what Trump is doing and why the deficits are growing. It was back in February when he explained to Elon Musk why his strategy to shock the U.S. government into spending efficiency through Doge, while noble, is ultimately doomed to wit. What Musk is doing in trying to streamline the government is admirable, but ultimately it will be Congress that decides the end game. And their things are as status quo as always. Status quo it was indeed, and it took the world's richest man several months to realize it. And while there has been a heated fight in the press whether Doge is still technically active inside the Trump admin, we have some bad news. After a valiant start of 2025, the U.S. has regressed to its old drunken sailor spending ways and has seemingly done so on steroids. Earlier today, the Treasury published the October budget data, and it was ugly. Government revenues were actually a solid 23.7% improvement to the $326.8 billion collected in October 2024. Of course, that includes the now solid monthly contribution from Trump's tariffs, which in October added $31 billion to the tally. As usual, it was government spending that was the problem again. At $688.7 billion, or over $22 billion per day, the October total was a 17.9% jump compared to the $584.2 billion spent a year prior. The combination of these two numbers resulted in a $284.4 billion deficit for the month of October, which was not only higher than the $257.5 billion deficit last October, but also higher than the record COVID budget buster of $284.1 billion in October of 2020. For people stuck in the past who don't know the real reason why Doge was created and what its real purpose was, it looks like a failure. But rooting out and exposing fraud was only part of the reason Doge was created. And it was very effective in doing that. USAID has been shut down and the fraud has been exposed in Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP, which are now being cleansed. But Doge was never going to decrease the deficit or the debt. Why? The author of the article blames the increase in deficit spending on Congress. But that ignores the fact that Congress passed Trump's big, beautiful bill because it was what he wanted. That is the reason that government spending and deficits are expanding. Why is Trump massively growing government spending and increasing the deficit and debt? Why is he doing it on purpose? When you step back and you look at the big picture, you realize exactly what Trump is doing. He's purposely bankrupting the system. He's moving us out of the fiat system and into a new system of honest money backed by gold. Trump is increasing spending because he's maxing out the Federal Reserve credit card before he bankrupts them. It's that simple. Many can't see the forest for the trees. Those living in the past focus on the trees, deficit, debt, rather than the forest of things happening in the background, pointing in a specific direction. The more government spending, the better. The faster we bankrupt the system, the sooner we will move into the new system of financial freedom. But here's the other reason why Doge is so important and is a massive success, not a failure. Doge is creating the new system within the government that keeps track of every single taxpayer dollar. I believe they're installing the blockchain system that will force our entire government to be transparent and prevent corruption in the future. That is how they are exposing all this fraud. They're simply following the money. Doge is transforming the entire government. Power back to the people. And yes, Doge is also basically removing the many, many different agencies, the funding of all these different agencies. And if you notice, Doge has been decentralized and it's been put into different departments where they're going to keep track of all this currency. And yes, they might even use the blockchain to keep it completely and utterly transparent. I do agree with this. But think about it. Without Trump starting the parallel economic system, which is the tariff, the gold card, energy sales, technology sales, he would not be able to do any of these things. Because in the end, the debt, remember, the central bank system is based on debt. The whole system, everything that you know, is based on how the central bank looks at everything. And when you look at what Trump is doing, the new system is not based on debt. We're not borrowing the currency. We're receiving the currency externally because there are countries that want to ship their items into this country. And if they would like to do that, there is a fee for that. And that goes to the American people. That will fund everything. And yes, what Doge is doing, they want to keep track of all this, just like any good business. You see, when you have an open-ended credit card and you just borrow willy-nilly, nobody keeps track of anything. You know why? Nobody's responsible for it. They say, what do I care? We'll just raise the taxes on the people. They'll just continue to pay. Because remember, it's borrowed currency. And yes, they also kick it back to them. So what Trump is doing, he needed an external system that could compete with the central bank. That's why we see both of the systems now running. And Trump's system is getting stronger and stronger every single day. You see, and I do believe with Joe, every time people look at the old system, they're like, oh, deficit, oh, debt, oh, that is based on the old system, the central bank system that they created back in 1913, and we went full fiat in 1971. The new system is going to be completely and utterly different. We're no longer going to be using borrowed currency. We're no longer going to have to pay it back because there's interest attached. This is going to change everything, which means the value of the currency isn't going to lose value. You have to remember, the value of the currency is continually declining. Why? Because we borrow more and more. If you put more of this currency into circulation, it dilutes the currency, and the currency is worth less.
Attention law enforcement. You took an oath to protect and serve. To keep your family, your neighborhood safe. But in too many cities, dangerous illegals walk.
Unless it's almost like if you took milk and you took chocolate, you put chocolate in a cup, you pour in a quarter of milk. The chocolate milk is very, very strong. If you keep adding milk to the chocolate milk, what happens? It dilutes the chocolate. Soon you don't even have the chocolate taste anymore. All you really taste is milk, maybe with a hint of something else going on there. But again, that's diluting the chocolate, just like what the central bank does. They dilute the currency. The more we put into circulation, the more they create, the more the people in this country borrow. It dilutes what we have here, which means the currency that you have is worth less and less. And now what Trump is doing, he's going to return us back to a place where we don't have debt. But he needs to have the leverage over the central bank system. And I do believe that's exactly what he's doing right now. He's building and building his new system while in the same breath destroying the old system. And he will have all the leverage in the end. To top this off, to go back to the gold standard, what is Trump going to do? Well, Elon has mentioned it. Oh, we should audit Fort Knox. We should take a look at the gold inside of Fort Knox. That would be interesting. Why do you think they put that narrative out there? I mean, you go like, why didn't he do it yet? It's not time. Because again, he wants gold to move up. And again, the gold price that we see today is not the true value of gold pegged against the fiat currency. They use the paper market to manipulate it to make you think that this is the true value. So as gold continually moves up, when it hits a point where he says, okay, we're going to revalue the gold, that is when he's then going to say, maybe we should audit Fort Knox and many other areas to see how much gold we actually have. And this is going to give him the power, along with cryptocurrency stablecoins, to basically attack the central bank system and bring it to its knees and destroy it and restructure it and bring it into the treasury. This, I do believe, is his plan, and it looks like we're heading in that direction. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be.
Okay, we haven't did the X2 report in about a week or so. I found that clip on the lady that died.
Happy Thanksgiving. Before we begin, I want to express the anguish and the horror of our entire nation at the terrorist attack yesterday in our nation's capital,
I
in
play
which
him
a
one of these
savage
20-minute
monster gunned
videos.
down two service members in the West Virginia National Guard who were deployed as part of the DC task force, which has done such an incredible job. I mean, until yesterday, we literally had no incidents for many
7
months.
minutes.
It was the safest place imaginable, and this is a different kind of crime. This is a really bad crime. Millions of Americans are praying for those heroes and their families, and I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. It's just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. Now with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. It's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him. And the monster that did this is also in serious condition. But we won't even talk about him. As you may know, DHS has confirmed that the suspect is an Afghan national flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember the period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And the toughest, meanest, most capable physically got on the plane, not the people that we were looking for or that they wanted to bring in. Here's a picture for you. Just take a look at that plane. Standing on top of each other, sitting on top of each other. This is what we had under the Biden administration. That whole thing should have never, ever happened. They should have left from a different base. They should have left from Bagram, as you know, and it would have been a much different story. But they didn't do that, and this was just a rout, just a terrible situation. This heinous atrocity reminds us that we have no greater national security priority than ensuring that we have full control over the people that enter and remain in our country. For the most part, we don't want them. They come in illegally, have a lot of problems. Their countries force them in because their countries are smart. They don't want them. Let's give them to the Americans to take care of. They come out of jails in many cases, mental institutions, they're gang members, they're drug dealers. We don't want them. Many of the service members on this call today are engaged in crucial aspects of that mission. And to each and every one of you, I just want to thank you so much. Incredible people. You make this sacrifice like few others understand. A lot of them don't even understand it. And you're keeping America safe and free. Our military is strong. My first term, I rebuilt our military, all aspects of our military. And in Afghanistan, we actually gave up a big chunk, but relatively, as much as it seemed like it's small compared to what we bought and to what we have and to what we're buying. We're spending over $1 trillion this year on our military. We have a military, the best in the world. We make the best equipment in the world.
Hey, Terry.
And we have the best people in the world.
I had
So
a
joining us this
retreat.
evening are 6 units deployed across our hemisphere, representing every branch of the United States Armed Forces. First, I want to thank the members of Army's legendary 101st Airborne Division. I've heard about that since I was a little boy. The Screaming Eagles, calling in from Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and you're led by Major General David Gardner, a real tough cookie and great general. I appreciate it, General Gardner. The 101st has done an outstanding job leading the joint task force at our southern border. We have nobody coming in. They're not coming in. Under Biden, they were coming in by the millions. Now we have nobody coming in. We have a strong border. Nobody talks about it anymore. I'm not giving credit for anything, just like you guys are not giving credit for anything. We do the greatest job, but that's all right. They don't talk about the border anymore because you know why? Nobody comes in. We had 9 months now where we had nobody coming in, zero.
Live.
And this is
Let's go
being
on.
fed. This is the
Thank you.
people that do this they tend to be on the left.
Please make sure
They'd
you're
love to
up
say
to the
millions
backup
of people
channel.
came
We
in through
got
Trump, and
links
they
in the
actually said
chat.
nobody came. Even I find
Thank
that
you.
hard to believe, but they literally are saying nobody came in. And I hope people appreciate the job that you've done and the job that we've all done. But we're stopping the invasion of our country. We stopped it cold. And if you remember, Biden said, I need new legislation. You didn't need legislation. I didn't get legislation. What you needed was a new president. So with your help, we now have the most secure border in American history. It's the single most secure border in American history. So I just want to thank you. And the 101st, I want to thank you very much. The job you've done is amazing, working with all of our great people. We also have the men and women of the U.S. Navy serving as part of the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group under Captain Christopher Farraker. And they're on board the USS Iwo Jima in the Caribbean Sea, working right by their side are members of the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit led by Colonel Tom Trimble. Thank you very much. I think you waved to me because I can see you then. Let's see. There you are, handsome people. They're beautiful looking people. Thank you.
Boom! You probably know these.
So that was an update on the soldier that died. Sad story. Short videos.
Overturned a unanimous jury verdict to save a Somali man who stole $7.2 million from the taxpayer. And you won't believe where that money was going. Meanwhile, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, he goes on live television and says, we can't incarcerate criminals because that's racist. Yeah, just days after a career criminal was freed and set a woman on fire. The judge behind it openly admits she judges cases based on skin color. Wait until you see this video. And since it's Thanksgiving week, well, I've got a bonus clip that's pure gold. President Trump serving up a platter of comedy so good, even the turkeys are laughing. I've watched it a few times. Trust me, you're going to want to see this one. Now, before we dive into all of that, a quick announcement in case you missed it. The Carrie Lane Show store is live. So start your holiday shopping early with mugs, hats, shirts, whatever the family wants. And because you all are so amazing, you can snag 15% off with the code Carrie15 at checkout. Links and the code are down below in the description so you won't miss out. All right, go get your goodies, and enough of that. The first story, absolute insanity. Somalis in Minnesota just got caught running a massive fraud ring scheme. But it gets even weirder. The fraud is so extreme that Donald Trump has terminated deportation protection for Somali nationals living in Minnesota. And here's the kicker. A jury just found a Somali man guilty of stealing $7.2 million from taxpayers through fake Medicaid billing. That should have been the end of it, right? Wrong. A liberal Minnesota judge stepped in and completely overturned the verdict, acquitting him of all charges. You think you're shocked? Listen to one of the jurors who actually decided this case. This ruling is not going to hold up. Now, the AG's office, they've already filed an appeal, which means the Minnesota Court of Appeals will review this, which could take months. And while that drags on, U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she's openly admitting her allegiance is not with the United States of America. I guarantee you she's the ringleader in a lot of this. I mean, she openly admits she doesn't see herself as American at all, but as Somali, and actually says she wants to move back home to raise her kids there. So tell me, how on earth are we letting someone who rejects America represent the very people she refuses to call her own? And it doesn't stop there. Every major Somali fraud ring is targeting Minnesota, and by extension, every single taxpayer in this country. This is the consequence of letting a culture that is built on corruption, violence, and piracy take root on American soil. And now, tragically, the next generation of Somali Americans is picking up the same destructive habits right here at home. They're already the most welfare-dependent immigrant group in the U.S., and they've been caught stealing $300 million in COVID relief funding that was meant for hungry children. Now, their latest scheme targets Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services program.
You got one there, second one. Oh. We'll play this one. It's 2 minutes.
Church bells actually went off, and it was super interesting because like you don't hear church bells around anymore, and they've removed these church bells. And I started doing some digging, and apparently certain church bells all are tuned separately. Like there's not one standard to church bells. However, apparently they had healing frequencies. And the humming and all of this is very specific to bells. So a lot of people think that they actually removed church bells because of that, because it had a healing frequency and it used to tell us time. Now they're saying that church bells are an issue because of noise complaints. However, if you look at all of the old churches and the bells and the things that they have removed, it's kind of a little weird, don't you guys think? Because we are frequency, right? We're made out of frequency. Like everything runs with frequency. And I've done so many like videos on how, you know, frequency actually works, how we are made 80% out of water, and water has the rippling effect. So I'm wondering if those church bells used to actually calm down the parasympathetic system of people back in the day. And now they've removed that even further because of all the 5G and all of those towers, and the frequencies that they give off are actually not natural. But I want to know what you guys think. Now, this is what ChatGPT had to say. A church bell sound is made of several prominent partials that together create its characteristic tone. The important ones are hum note, prime or strike note, tierce, quint, and nominal, an octave above the prime. And then down here it says a large cathedral bell might have a strike note around 100 to 300 hertz. A small chapel bell might have 400 to 800 hertz or higher. Bells are cast and then tuned by removing metal from specific areas to adjust these partials. And we all know that certain frequencies can cause anxiety and certain other frequencies can cause calming effects. But I honestly want to know what you guys know about these church bells and the conspiracy behind them. It's kind of fun.
She does a good job on her short. She got short videos. Yeah, I gotta see where I'm at here. This is.
Her to hide behind. James Comer just promised the full ban in Navarro, cuff and stuff, if Bill and Hillary keep ghosting those Epstein subpoenas. Meanwhile, Jazzy Jasmine, she tried to light Republicans on fire with her gotcha Epstein donors list, only to have it spectacularly explode right in her face. She's now quieter than a Democrat on Hunter's laptop. And something that made me a little irritated, a small group of Republicans tanked their chance to censure Plaskett, all to protect Corey Mills. Many Republicans now furious and say they're going to attempt to throw their own guy under the bus. As always, like the video and subscribe if you're new here. So while Epstein's child trafficking empire detonates across America, the Clintons, who jetted on the Lolita Express just 26 times and partied with Epstein on the island, have gone darker than Hillary's 2016 election night meltdown. Zero statements, zero outrage, total radio silence from the Clinton Crime Foundation. But the party's over. After Bill and Hillary ghosted Congress like common criminals, Oversight Chairman James Comer just dropped the hammer. Subpoenas for both Clintons with a brutal warning. Show up or pack a toothbrush, because you're going the Bannon Navarro route.
Bill and Hillary Clinton, if they continue to duck you, will you take them to court? Will you try to enforce a subpoena? Will you go the Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro route?
100%. We're going to go that route. We expect to hear from Bill and Hillary Clinton. Look, Donald Trump's answered questions for years about Jeffrey Epstein. Every day he gets asked questions about Epstein, and he answers them in front of the American people. But the Clintons have never responded. They're the one group in this investigation that's never had to answer questions in front of a credible reporter, and they've never certainly answered questions from attorneys or members of Congress. So we expect the Clintons to come in, or I expect the Clintons to be met with the same fate that Bannon and Navarro were met with when the Democrats were in control.
And I'm sure, absolutely sure, Democrats will be standing shoulder to shoulder with Comer on this one. I mean, they practically wrote the rule book. After all, it was Adam Schiff who said this in 2022. Prosecution of those who refuse to comply with a lawful subpoena is vital to ensuring congressional oversight has teeth. Otherwise, Congress cannot function as the founders intended. The balance of power becomes unbalanced, and a corrupt executive can't be held to account. So the million-dollar question now is, what's the shorter sentence for the Clintons? Refusing to comply with a subpoena, or actually admitting what they've done? And while Democrats pretend to be the sudden champions of accountability, here comes Eric Swalwell. Yeah, the guy who couldn't even outsmart a Chinese spy, now trying to play Capitol Hill tough guy. Watch him attempt to scare Kristi Noem and Tom Homan like he's running some kind of congressional mafia. Take a look.
Okay. Yep, we'll go another hour. This guy is back, Kay. I just found him. Ah, shoot. Nope. Can't play him yet. This one is 4 minutes. I'm not sure if we played this one yet.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I do fear a lot of things that can happen to me for saying what's the right thing to say. I fear it. I fear what can happen to all my employees, all my businesses, all my workers, my reputation. Because one thing we know is for sure, don't matter how much loyalty we give you, the second we say something that's our own opinion, we're done. We're absolutely done. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm loyal. And I'll be loyal to you. And I'll be a good man for you, Mr. President. Whether you back Jim Kingston or any of the rest of them, I'll be a good man for you. But I just watched Marjorie Taylor Greene work her butt off for the last 5 years for you. Really 6 years. Never seen somebody in politics honor a leader so much with their life and their patience and their persistence and their belief in that man. But she got showed something to the point that she become a quitter. And I don't respect you for that, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You was definitely one of my favorite. I don't respect you for quitting.
How's this one, guys?
Come on, son, aim it up. Aim it up. But Mr. President, I don't respect you calling ladies pigs neither. I can't deal with that. If that'd been my wife, man, I tell you, I'd be in prison. You don't need to do that. Ronald Reagan was not like this. Man, I'm not trying to come out against you. I'm only telling you because I love you, man. I love you, but somebody's got to tell you, bro. Our farmers is hurting out there. Our timber industry, we give them money to Argentina, and yet we don't get nothing here. Nothing. We got people mulching down their trees. Mulching them down. When we going to get some help? Man. Look, Southeast farmers and beef's been getting 10 to 15% under Chicago's prices forever. The boys in the Midwest has always had it. But now we got to compete against Argentina, man. I'm just saying stuff that's real. I'm a businessman just like you. And I ain't asked nobody for no money. Nobody. And they say, well, you don't need him to endorse Kingston. You don't need to do that. Yeah, I'm sure this is going to cost me everything with my businesses and all that. But I only fear God, the same God that saved your life, sir. The same God that saved your life. That's the only one I fear. You can take it or leave it. I don't like what you and Marjorie Taylor Greene just done to each other. I don't like that when I signed up for Make America Great Again, it was not Make Argentina Great Again. Now, I'm willing to go with you on Argentina. Son, if you'll hold this right here, I'm willing to go with you on that. But we, the people, want some explanation. I just can't take it. I promised to fight corruption for you, sir. I did. I promised to come in and help you drain the swamp. But I'm here to hold everybody accountable. I can't stand it. You got people starving. Literally, like, they ain't got no money. And we're just bragging about how good we're doing, how good we're doing. Well, come to the trenches with me, Mr. President, and we will see. We'll see. When I have a problem with my people, sometimes I go get in their shoes. I'll go sit on a job with a week for them to see what it is they're going through. Come with me. Let's only give you a couple $1,000 and let's let you buy groceries and rent and everything else. And then you'll know. I love you, Mr. President. I'm MAGA. And I love you so much that I got the balls to tell you, if we're going to talk this way, I'm going to talk this way. If we're going to be diplomatic like Reagan, I'll be diplomatic like Reagan. For all the folks that tells me you can't say nothing to nobody, you don't understand what my job is in Congress. My job in Congress is to hold the executive branch together, to hold a budget together, and to sit here and fight for the constitutional rights of human beings. That's my job. We just built different. Son, you can turn that off. I love you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
How many seen that one? Was that all right? Six minutes on part one.
Are actually going to go out on all the weekend shows and you're going to sit there and say, well, Trump is doing things that are illegal and we just want to make sure that the military knows they can't do anything that's illegal. You better know what illegal things he's doing, right? You don't just throw this stuff into the wind. They were ill prepared because you know what? It's all fake. It's all a head game. It is all designed to scare the living daylights out of everyone so that they go and vote for those Democrats in midterms. Here's Joe Scarborough saying, yeah, they really fumbled the ball on this one, you think?
And if I have a criticism of what the Democrats have been saying, well, they fumbled the ball this weekend. But from the very beginning, when they say it's such a Democratic thing to do. You don't have to follow illegal orders. You know what, a Republican, you can't follow illegal orders. It's against your oath. And it is against their oath.
So here's what Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, who was part of the effort, said yesterday when asked by ABC News to be specific about what illegal orders are being issued by the White House.
She couldn't be.
So let's talk right now. Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
Okay, wrong answer.
Well,
I'm sorry, with all due respect, wrong answer. President of the United States, the commander-in-chief does have, Jonathan Lemire, wide latitude. Just does. And the Senate can take that up, but he has wide latitude on strikes. Ask Barack Obama and drone strikes. Ask George W. Bush and drone strikes. But where we know the president has said, I am going to give illegal orders to people in the military, is when he was on Air Force One, coming back, I forget where he was coming back from, but he said, I can send the Marines, I can send the Army, I can send the Air Force, I can send the Coast Guard into any city I want to control crime. And the courts can't do anything about it. That's illegal. It's just illegal. And so Democrats kind of need to, if the president has already said, I'm going to commit this illegal act, then I'm kind of surprised they don't have the answer when they go on a Sunday show for that.
Okay, because they're just kind of dumb and somebody put this up to them. Again, as I told you, a psych op, and it's all political, and these aren't the smartest people in the world after all. Who the heck would go into politics? Just saying. Anyway, in terms of what Joe's saying about you can't go into these particular communities in these cities to control crime, I actually wonder about that, right? On the one hand, right, and I'm a small government kind of gal. We don't want big federal government because that's always a problem. But the reality here is if you have a community that is falling victim to people who are here illegally, who are committing crimes, and you're trying to root that out, and the community is not able to confront that themselves because they may have a leader like Brendan Johnson or a governor, say, like Gavin Newsom, who's saying, well, F you to the federal government because it's Donald Trump. And so we used to care about maybe making sure that we didn't have people here illegally, but now we no longer care about it. And you're preventing the federal government from then doing its job. Look, Donald Trump didn't write that law. That law is on the books about people not being here illegally thanks to our Congress. So if our Congress makes that decision, unless they decide to change it, that's the law of the land. And then the federal government has the right to enforce that law. And if you prevent them from enforcing the law, then again, we're going back to 1963 Alabama. They just can't get it, though. They just can't get it. Here's another one.
If they are going there where they did, do you think they should have been more explicit about the contours of what they think is actually illegal?
I think the burden of proof on respecting the integrity of the military does not lie on these patriots and veterans who are serving in Congress. It lies on the President of the United States, who has entertained the idea of using the military to aid and abet the insurrection that he launched in 2020, who has called American cities training grounds for the United States military, who has ordered strikes in the Caribbean that have so rattled our own allies that they have decided to not share intelligence to advance those strikes because they don't believe that they are justified or legal. This president is the one who has to answer to the American public on his violations of posse comitatus, which means that he can't use the military for law enforcement purposes, as he's tried to do in Los Angeles and Chicago and elsewhere. And he has to answer to the American public for why he wants to wage a ground war in Venezuela when the American public has been crystal clear that they are done with military adventurism overseas.
Okay. Well, by the way, we just heard even Joe Scarborough talk about how, what do you think the power of the presidency is? Just ask Barack Obama. And in some cases, with some of these strikes, yes, that lies within the executive branch. I'm telling you guys, this is weird what they're doing. It's very, very weird. And I think it is a total political move. What do you think the 51X spooks and spies was all about when they came out and told us that Hunter Biden's laptop was nothing but misinformation fed to you by the Russians and Rudy Giuliani? What do you think that was? It was an attempt to control the narrative, and they were using their intelligence assets, including the deputy director of the CIA and the former head of the DNI and the whole kit and caboodle of them, right? I mean, Anthony Blinken apparently came up with the idea because he had a lot running on the line. He was going to be the next Secretary of State under Joe Biden. Yeah, a lot of good that did us. So they came out with this stupid letter that they put in Politico, which, by the way, was getting millions of dollars from USAID for those subscriptions that they have. Like anybody needed a Politico subscription to the tunes of like tens of thousands of dollars. That was bonkers. There was some kind of payback.
Okay, that was part one. We got part two.
$76research.com, code word dollar, shameless plug. But I'm just saying, for goodness sakes, that was something else with no information in it. And yet they're getting this government money, and they chose this vehicle that's getting this USAID money to place this letter from the 51X spooks. And now they look back and laugh on it. Here's this quote unquote journalist who's a tech business journalist. Yeah, I put that in quotations deliberately. Kara Swisher, who's speaking with Scott Jennings on her podcast, and she's trying to slough it off. Oh, that was just politics. That was just politics. Well, what do you think this thing is right now? It is just politics, but this is scary stuff. You guys are playing with fire. And I was going to say you don't even know it, but maybe you do. And that's pretty sick and twisted.
The story was true. There wasn't really any dispute of that, other than from these 50 people who come from government, who are in and out of government when Democrats are in power.
That's politics to me, Scott. That's. I mean, you're not naive. They were making their case, just like you would say Trump just did with whatever issue he has.
Well, I don't agree that it's just a simple matter of making your case. When you use your government title and you use your intelligence bona fides and you use all your credentials to flat out lie to the American people, they didn't know that. That was a political argument, but they were saying, this is Russian disinformation. What you're reading is directly out of the Kremlin.
I mean, exactly, right? So that carried with it a certain kind of weight, a certain kind of gravitas, and that made it even scary. I mean, even yours truly took a pause, and I was like, whoa, wait a second. Let's make sure that we have this all right, because this is kind of scary. And you don't really know, because you ought to be able to trust the former head of the CIA, the former head of the DNI. I mean, they're not supposed to be political. Oh, but they are. you know, piece of my mind was just asking, who's orchestrating this? Like, where is this coming from? Because it feels like a foreign op, but no, I think it's just coming from the Dems. I think it's coming from, lots of Democrat operatives behind the scenes. I mean, even you think about one of the women in there from New Hampshire, nonetheless, my wonderful state, going right down the tubes. Jake Sullivan's wife, Maggie Goodlander. It's Jake Sullivan, you know, former NSC, the guy that actually thought that he had the Middle East totally under control, like just days before the horror in Israel back in October. I mean, wow. Okay, so she's part of this. You get the CIA lady part of it. And this is not a good situation. And you know, my friend Jesse Waters, former colleague over on Fox, I had a good take on this. He's kind of in my camp because he's of the view that this is very deliberate, that this is a very deliberate attempt to scare the American public into something. Like they want you to believe something really, really, really crazy. Here we go.
I talked to two CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat. And the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually...
Okay, that's actually really clear. And part of why we know that she didn't come up with it herself is because when they pushed her and said on ABC, well, what is it? Do you think that Donald Trump is actually doing anything illegal? And she had absolutely no answer for it. It tells you like there's no there. There's not a lot of substance behind what she's doing. So back to Peace of Mind's point, like who's running the show here? Who's running this psych op, if you would? It's not her. Here we go.
Don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand and you have to make examples out of people.
I think that that's a good way to characterize it. And unfortunately, the deep state is totally embedded with the Democrat Party. And one of you guys I actually put the comment up on the screen because you made a very good point and something I was going to get to a little bit later in the show, because we're going to talk about Pam Bondi and we're going to talk about what's coming out in the next 30 days. And that would be the Epstein files, right? Remember, Donald Trump didn't, he was trying to be like sort of gracious. I talked about this the other day too. Like people were like, why didn't you want this all to come out? And I think the reason he didn't want it all to come out is because you have a lot of people that are going to get trapped up in this just because there's like hearsay within some of the documents and within some of the exchanges. And gosh, if you happen to have been at Epstein's house, which is basically all of New York, I guess, except for me. I was a member of the media in New York City, but somehow I never got that invite. Like all of New York, right, is going to somehow get wrapped up in this, and you can find your name there. And even though you had nothing to do with it, and so I think he was actually trying to protect some people. But in the process now, now that this is all coming out, you're going to see a lot of things and a lot of names. And I suspect, because I do think that Epstein was connected highly so to the intelligence community, there is an effort to, at this point, really take Trump down. And like, this is all their own doing, these idiots, right? They're the ones that decided, oh, we're going to go all in on Epstein. We're going to taunt him and make sure that he releases this. Well, he was like, fine, so be it. Out it comes. And now they're like, oh, and so now look what they're pulling. This is amazing to me. Absolutely, totally disgusting. And yet, exactly who they are.
Okay, that was a two-parter on Trisha there. Next three are short ones I got. 4 days ago, did you guys hear anything about Maxine Waters on TikTok?
Lecturing Americans about ethics
5 minutes
and accountability. But now she's the one in hot water. powerful Democrat just got hit with a major ruling. A federal investigation exposed what Maxine Waters has been hiding. And now the judge is handing down the sentence. You won't get this kind of hard-hitting coverage of corrupt Democrats like Maxine Waters on MSNBC. But we've got the full story and the receipts. Please like, comment, and share to explain America, because the media won't tell you what really happened in the Maxine Waters scandal. And we want to get the truth out to the American people. So here's the story. Congresswoman Maxine Waters' campaign has been found guilty of violating multiple federal election laws. Now she's being forced to pay the penalties. The ruling comes after a formal Federal Election Commission, or FEC, probe into her 2020 campaign, Citizens for Waters. This wasn't a minor paperwork mistake. These were systemic violations, and now the FEC has ordered Waters' campaign to cough up $68,000 in fines and send her treasurer to mandatory campaign finance training. This comes on top of a separate report revealing Waters paid her own daughter nearly $200,000 for campaign work, part of a shady slate mailer operation that critics have long called out as political nepotism. Despite her committee's excuses that these violations were just errors, the documents released Friday make it clear. Waters' campaign repeatedly violated federal law and only avoided court by settling in advance. This is the same Maxine Waters who once called for Melania Trump to be deported and who has spent years accusing her political enemies of corruption. Now, she's the one guilty of corruption, and the judge is finally making her pay. Maybe not as much as we would like to see, but it is a sign that there is at least some justice in this case, and it sets the record straight that she is a corrupt Democrat. Yeah, and potentially like Jasmine Crockett in Texas. She's under investigation for Act Blue donations. We want to see it also put on the record that these Democrats are corrupt. So let's take a look at Maxine Waters moralizing the American public about Donald Trump and MAGA and anyone that she can say is a bad person or the evil enemy of hers, to take the attention off of her and to deflect the blame away from her corrupt activities. Let's watch.
The majority of basically whites in this country willing to accept a dishonorable human being, someone who has been convicted of 34 felonies, someone who has been openly and brazenly racist, someone who has, talked about his love for Putin and Kim Jong-un and made some statements favorable to Hitler. It doesn't matter.
This is all why you don't like him, but why has America voted for him?
Racism is the basic point. People don't like to talk about racism, but the fact of the matter is the majority of his votes are going to come from whites. And that's who has been talking to all campaign about taking the country back. Taking it back from whom? Taking it back from too many minorities who are doing too well, who are succeeding, who are closing the wealth gap. And something has to be done in his estimation. And so that's what it's really all about. It's not about the economy and all that, people would like to basically hide behind. It's about white versus other.
Just a quick reminder in between this rage, guys, don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. It does help me out enormously. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, you're welcome to do so. Let's get back to it.
But, it's looking possible tonight that Donald Trump has won the popular vote. Are you saying that the majority of Americans are racist?
I'm saying the majority of the Americans will buy into anything as long as they believe.
What do you mean, Jersey Joe? I don't know what you mean by that.
That somehow they will have more advantage. They will have more ownership, that they don't have to worry about others who will be equal to them. You can call it what you want, but that's the way it is.
It looks, Congressman Walters, as if he's expanded his base to include more black voters, more Latino voters, more people of color this time round. I mean, not more than Harris, but more than last time round.
I agree 100%. Yep, that's all they say. It's racism and either that or they say white premises and Trump's fault. They're never wrong.
Let's not fight your theory.
Well, I don't know. We've got to wait and see. I don't know what the expansion is. There may be some expansion in the Latino community, but all of this talk about getting Black votes, I don't think it's true.
Maxine Waters is another case of a Democrat who assumes the rules doesn't apply to them. And it raises real questions about who else is getting away with the same thing just because they're in power. Maxine Waters is guilty. Some price is being paid. And the American people aren't going to forget this. This has been Kyle Becker with Explain America.
Okay, I thought that guy did okay explaining that. 2 more videos. I got one is 10, and then we'll finish off with Doug. It's like 15. The one with Ben Carson talks about Schiff. I don't think we ever played that. I don't know if we have or not. It's 10 minutes. See if we played it or not. Darn it, now I gotta find it. Shoot. Okay, I found it.
On Trump's authoritarianism
Let me know if we
is not
played
the
it.
Congress. It is not the courts. It is the American people. It is all of us, each of us. Fear is Donald Trump's weapon of choice. Divide and conquer is his one repugnant strategy. Law firm against law firm, media outlet against media outlet, neighbor against neighbor. He counts on us being too scattered to oppose him, too scared of a truth social media post or an executive order, or the very real threat of physical harm for anyone to push back. So there's something incredibly powerful when someone looks King Donald in the eye and says simply and with their whole being, piss off.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your courage to be here, because in the society that we live in today, it takes a lot of courage to say that you're supporting President Trump. And, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America. And the media, they like to pick on him, any little thing. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. The only one who ever was perfect was Jesus, and they crucified him.
Adam Schiff didn't see this coming. Dr. Ben Carson takes the microphone, calm,
You guys
steady,
remember
and
this?
ready to surgically dismantle nonsense. On the other side, Democrat Senator Adam Schiff looks prepared to do what he does best, spread fear, guilt, and eye-bulging outrage. Schiff tries to paint Trump as a racist, expecting applause. Instead, Ben Carson turns the room upside down. Before this breakdown continues, click subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't let the truth get censored by the facts don't matter squad.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your courage to be here, because in the society that we live in today, it takes a lot of courage to say that you're supporting President Trump. And, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America. You go back to the days of slavery, and in a lot of the states, there were more slaves than there were owners. So what did they do? They had to divide the slaves. So they told the ones in the house, you're better than the ones in the yard. And the ones in the yard, you're better than the ones in the field. And then after slavery was over, the light-skinned ones, you're better than the dark-skinned ones. And on it went, trying to divide people. Today, they say, if you are a conservative, then you are somehow an Uncle Tom, you're a horrible person, you're a demon. What a bunch of crap, but it's been going on for hundreds of years. And it's really time to put a stop to it. So I am very happy to see that you have the courage to come out. It doesn't bother me anymore because, I only worry about what God thinks. I don't worry about what these other people think. But sometimes people ask me, what happened to you? You changed. I haven't changed. I changed about 35 years ago because, you see, I grew up in Detroit, a bastion of liberalism. They call it progressivism now. They keep changing the name.
I don't
But anyway,
think I played this, Kay, did I?
then from there to Boston, a bastion of liberalism. Back to Detroit, and then to New Haven, Connecticut, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Ann Arbor, Michigan, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Baltimore, Maryland, a bastion of liberalism. So I had no chance. I was a liberal. I was way out there. And then I did something that liberals are never supposed to do. I listened to a conservative. I listened to Ronald Reagan, and I said, he doesn't sound like a horrible racist person. He sounds just like my mother. And at that point, I started thinking for myself. And that made a big difference. It made a big difference in my medical career, too. I didn't do what everybody else did. I always started thinking out of the box. How do you solve this problem? And that's the reason that God gave us these complex brains. Your brain has billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections. It remembers everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. It can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. Would God give you something like that just so that you can be a sheep and follow what somebody else tells you to do, or to think for yourself? And, don't you find it fascinating that so many people say the president's a racist? He's a horrible racist and everything he does. Well, it seems to me like some years ago, Jesse Jackson actually gave the president an award in New York City because he opened so many opportunities for Black people. Is that what a racist does? And then when he moved to Palm Beach, he was right on the forefront to fighting the clubs who were not admitting Jews and Blacks. Does that sound like what a racist would do? He is the one who finally got the Second Chance Act done. Does that sound like what a racist would do? When he took office, he brought the office of HBCUs to the White House so it could get appropriate attention, more money than ever. Opportunity zones so that people could take this money and direct it to the places where people did not have opportunities before. An economy where you have the lowest unemployment rates for Black people in history. And it goes on and on and on. Let me tell you something. If he's a racist, he's an awfully bad one. He needs to go get a lesson from the real racists. The people who look at somebody like you and me and they say, because your skin is a certain color, you have to think a certain way. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And they start calling you names. Those are the real racists. But the president believes that a rising tide lifts all boats. He doesn't believe in identity politics, and that's why he's doing things that work for everybody. And we should be happy about that. And the media, they like to pick on him, any little thing. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. The only one who ever was perfect was Jesus, and they crucified him.
Schiff steps up with his usual dramatic voice like he's auditioning for a telenovela. Trump divides this country with hate. He waves his hands, looks offended at air molecules, and waits for applause. Silence. Carson just smiles, the kind of smile surgeons have before they open you up and remove something toxic. The room knows something huge is coming. Carson calmly reminds the entire chamber that division has always been the tool of manipulators. From slavery to modern politics, people have been pitted against each other to stay controlled. He says, today, if you're a conservative who happens to be Black, they call you an Uncle Tom, the same way slave owners shamed anyone who dared to think differently. Schiff blinks rapidly like someone rebooting a malfunctioning robot. Schiff opens his mouth to repeat the word racist like a broken radio. Before he gets the chance, Carson hits him with facts bigger than Schiff's imagination. Trump helped fight clubs that refused Black and Jewish members. Trump received an award from Jesse Jackson for helping Black entrepreneurs. Trump delivered record-low Black unemployment. Trump increased funding for HBCUs more than any president in history. Trump signed the Second Chance Act, reforming criminal justice. Carson looks directly at Schiff. If that's racism, he's terrible at it. The chamber laughs. Schiff looks like he just swallowed a cactus. Carson isn't done. He leans forward with surgical precision. Real racism is telling someone how they must think because of their skin color. The Democrats shift uncomfortably. Schiff starts blinking again, rapid fire. Carson says those who call Black conservatives traitors, those who use race as a weapon to manipulate votes, are the real problem. Not Trump, not conservatives, them. The Democrats look like someone just turned on the lights and found them eating all the nation's unity in the dark. Then Carson drops the message they never saw coming. A rising tide lifts all boats. We are one people under God. He champions opportunity, faith, personal responsibility, and actual progress, not emotional tantrums disguised as policy. Schiff tries to respond, but the room has already shifted. Carson didn't just win the debate, he evaporated the narrative. The Democrats came with labels, Carson came with facts. The debate ends. Schiff leaves looking like a man who just got his talking points repossessed. Carson walks out the way he walked in, calm, confident, victorious, without raising his voice. If this fiery takedown made sense, smash that like.
How's that one, you guys? Last one be Doug. Today's Doug video. Back to normal time tomorrow at 5. Tomorrow at 5.
Take a spin with.
Oh, to my happy patriots. Hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving. In the last episode, we did George Washington. In this episode, we're going to focus on John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, for contrast, and James Madison. You know, we had turkey, and you know what my favorite part of the turkey is? It's the most flavorful part by a mile. This is not a matter of opinion. It's empirical fact. Think about it. The skin. Oh, mama. I love a crispy, brown, flavorful turkey skin. I'd pull that hood up. You know, he's got the big dome shape. Pull it up like the hood of a Volkswagen Bug and just eat that thing. And some of the girls around the family were like, ew, I don't eat skin. I'm like, I do. Give me your skin. So I'll eat all the skin. And I still put the olives, the black olives, on my fingers and do boxing matches with them and eat them one at a time. I'll eat like 18 olives if they're sitting out there. But enough of that fiddle-faddle. Let's move on. Today, we're spotlighting Adams, Jefferson, and Madison. We'll explore their Thanksgiving connections. We're going to start with John Adams, our second president, a fiery patriot from Massachusetts, key in the Revolution, and a man of deep faith. He issued several proclamations calling for days of fasting, prayer, and thanksgiving, especially during tense times like the quasi-war with France. His 1798 proclamation blends humility with thanks, urging Americans to acknowledge God's blessings amid challenges. You know, he wrote letters to his son all the time. One particular, he wrote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. That's why we cannot have an atheocracy," which is what happens if you try to prevent a theocracy. "It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other, a moral and religious people. Our government, your Constitution, will not work if the people are not a religious people." So without the moral foundation, our freedoms falter. And Adams saw divine providence in America's story, such as in Psalm 33:12 was one of his favorites. "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he chose for his inheritance." Fun fact, Adams and Jefferson, they died on the same day, on July 4th in 1826, the 50th anniversary of the independence. Now that's providential, a pretty strange coincidence. Now for contrast, let's turn to Thomas Jefferson, Adams's friend, rival, and debating partner.
especially on religion. While Adams embraced public calls to prayer as president, Jefferson, as our third president, refused to issue national Thanksgiving proclamations, viewing them as an unconstitutional mix of church and state, because he coined the whole wall of separation thing. Yes, as Virginia's governor in 1779, he did indeed sign a state proclamation for Thanksgiving and prayer, responding to Congress's call during the Revolution. Of course, during times of war, there's no atheists in foxholes. Jefferson was more of a deist, emphasizing reason over organized religion. And he clashed with John Adams on this. In their letters, Jefferson wrote to Adams in 1817, "Say nothing of my religion. It is known between God and myself alone." And Adams, who was more orthodox, pushed back on such privacy, believing faith bolstered the republic. That's why I'm public about my faith. It is to help my country and bolster it. Jefferson quipped in 1823, "The day will come when the mystical generation of Jesus will be classed with the fable of the generation of Minerva in the brain of Jupiter," unquote. He's burning in hell now. Their correspondence is a treasure, two giants sparring over God, yet united in patriotism. Scripture tie in Proverbs 27:17, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." Their debates honed America's ideals. And in a jolly fact, Jefferson loved gardening and introduced French fries to America. So...
Morning, Pete. Coffee's on and your Uber's on its way.
You know, I've been thinking, maybe I should just...
He can't be all that bad. Maybe he'll get a pass. Finally, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, has been called, and our fourth president. He wrote a bunch of the Federalist Papers too, guys, and the God talk and philosophy is all.
They took my video down. I had to restream. And so this was good for 2 hours almost. This is the last video. And Kay and Lisa put the links down on my backup channel. It's in the chat. So make sure you're sub to the backup channel. Appreciate it. Thanks. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
All through it. In the War of 1812, he issued a Thanksgiving proclamation, blending gratitude with calls for peace. We'll focus on his 1815 proclamation. I'm going to read it here in full. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation by James Madison. The Senate and House of Representatives of the United States have, by a joint resolution, signified their desire that a day may be recommended to be observed by the people of the United States with religious solemnity as a day of thanksgiving and of devout acknowledgments to Almighty God for his great goodness, manifested in restoring to them the blessings of peace. I want you to notice something. In the last episode, we did George Washington, and here Madison does the same. As president, they felt funny about bringing up these proclamations. They wanted to make sure that the power was actually imbued and agreed to by the Senate and the House of Representatives. So both Washington and Madison say it was the Senate and House of Representatives that asked me to do a proclamation. I believe that is a deference of power to the Congress. No people ought to feel greater obligations to celebrate the goodness of the great disposer of events, of the destiny of nations, than the people of the United States. His kind providence originally conducted them to one of the best portions of the dwelling place allotted for the great family of the human race. He protected and cherished them under all the difficulties and trials to which they were exposed to in the early days. Under his fostering care, their habits, their sentiments, and their pursuits prepared them for a transition in due time to a state of independence and self-government. In the arduous struggle by which it was attained, that there were distinguished by multiplied tokens of his benign interposition. He had a bigger vocabulary than Washington. During the interval which succeeded, he reared them into the strength and endowed them with the resources which have enabled them to assert their national rights and to enhance their national character in another arduous conflict, which is now happily terminated by a peace and reconciliation with those who have been our enemies, the French. And to the same divine author of every good and perfect gift, we are indebted for all those privileges and advantages, religious as well as civil, which are so richly enjoyed in this favored land. Remember that. Even our civil rights, we thank God for, we're indebted to him for. We can't pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We can't invent those civil liberties. They do not stick unless they're given to us by God. It is for blessings such as these and more, especially for the restoration of the blessing of peace, that I now recommend that the second Thursday in April next be set apart as a day on which the people of every religious denomination may, in their solemn assemblies, unite their hearts and their voices in a free will offering to their heavenly benefactor, those are capitalized, heavenly benefactor, of their homage, of thanksgiving, and of their songs of praise, given at the city of Washington on the 4th day of March, 1815, and of the independence of the United States, the 39th James Madison. Well, thanks for joining me on Thanksgiving. I would love to hear you guys.
Okay. Wow. A lot of good stuff tonight, I think. Got a lot of people in tonight, so hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, and make sure you guys all sub to the backup channel. I'm hoping that was just a warning, because I don't know why they took the video down. I hope I don't get a strike. So keep your fingers crossed about the not getting a strike for tomorrow. So, but you guys all make sure you're sub to the find me there. Okay, Lisa, thanks for helping, and till tomorrow evening unless something happens in the morning. So God bless everybody. And please hit the like and please hit the like and sub other channels. Thank you. And then stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. And never give up. Never give up. Hopefully the movie is almost over. Signing off, Chico New until tomorrow afternoon or sooner.